Hey, it's your guy Tyrrell back with the interviews. Arsenal won their fifth game in a row, beating Everton at the Emirates. How did Everton frustrate Arsenal? Why did it take Arsenal so long to get going? And how did they get past Marco Silva's men? Don't worry, here at the interviews, we've got you covered. So on this edition of the interviews, we're going to break down how Arsenal beat Everton. So following a poor start to the Premier League campaign, Arsenal have now won 5 games in a row. Don't forget to click the thumbs up if you like this video. Don't forget to click the bell to ensure that you get notifications as we upload videos every day. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel. In today's video, we're going to break down why Arsenal struggled in the first half due to how Everton defended without the ball, how Everton posed issues to Arsenal's backline, and how Arsenal were able to turn things around in the second half. But first, let's get to the lineups. We start with Arsenal 4-2-3-1. Lacazette up front with Ramsey playing in the number 10 role. Aubameyang on the left, Ozil on the right. In midfield, Lucas Torreira gets his first start for Arsenal alongside Xhaka. At the back, Socrates, Mustafi. Out in the wider areas, they have Monreal and Bellerin. Then we get to Everton. A few changes being made. Calvert-Lewin starts up front just ahead of Sigurdsson. Out in wide areas with Richarlison and Theo Walcott in midfield. Tom Davies was the captain for Everton alongside Idrissa Gueye. Outer and wider areas, they had Kenny, they had Lucas Digne, and at the back, Michael Keane and Zuma. So first, let's start with how Everton were able to frustrate Arsenal and why they weren't able to create chances in the first half. So when we look at Arsenal's first half struggles, we have to base it off how Everton approached the game. They were able to press from the front in the first half. They were able to sit off deeper, and they forced Arsenal into some issues. When you look at Arsenal's lineup, you have Lacazette up front. He's an all-rounder. He could break in behind. He could drop off deeper. He can move into the channels. We didn't see enough of that. We'll get to their best chances, and it stemmed from Lacazette, but we didn't get enough of that. Aubameyang couldn't really break him behind. He had Kenny on him, and that was a big problem. Mesut Ozil's main job was basically drifting in centrally, and he had Digne sticking tight to him. And where did Arsenal really find joy was the fact that Bellerin was able to push forward, and with him pushing forward and Richarlison not aiming to really track his runs, he was able to deliver a few quality crosses into the box, and that was a big issue for Arsenal. But that is where they were getting forward down the right-hand side. Monreal wasn't able to do the same because of the threat of Theo Walcott and Walcott's pace, and he wasn't really looking to get forward, but he did on occasions, but Walcott was very disciplined with that. And then we get to the midfield. Xhaka and Torreira, they were marked out by Sigurdsson and Calvert-Lewin, who were dropping a bit deeper as the game progressed. Even if they had Everton's forwards push forward, what happened here is that Davies and Gueye would look to press forward and stop them from really getting on the ball. But for the most part, it was the front two sitting on the two midfielders. What ended up happening eventually was that Torreira ended up moving in and splitting the defense. So that it led to that. It led to Xhaka often spending time on the left channel, looking to get the ball, looking to break forward. When Arsenal did look to play out of the back, they didn't have as many issues in the first half as they did in previous games, but they did struggle in the opening 10 minutes, and it stemmed from Xhaka dropping off a bit deeper. And the way that Everton approached it was that they had Calvert-Lewin and they had Sigurdsson push out to the wide center backs that were splitting, and they had Idrissa Gueye moving to Xhaka. And in the opening 10 minutes, we saw on 2 occasions, the first time Gueye presses him and he ends up being dispossessed by Walcott. The second time he ends up playing it back to Socrates, and Socrates, the pass was poor and he was forced to clear the ball, and that was a big problem. Gueye was stepping forward and offering that threat. There was also the fact that Gueye was sweeping up play throughout. We saw Aubameyang, who eventually forced Digne into a booking, push forward down the right, and Gueye sweeping across. There was another opportunity where we ended up seeing, and it stemmed from Xhaka's positioning when Xhaka moved out to the left-hand side. What happens is that Davies couldn't get to him, so we saw Walcott push over to him, and we saw Ozil drift into that space. And what happened was that as soon as that ball came into him, we saw Gueye come across and nip the ball away. So we saw Gueye stepping into play. There was another instance where we saw, again, the ball being switched out to the left-hand side to Aubameyang. And what happens here is that the ball is then clipped, or Kenny steps out to it, and the ball is clipped into Ramsey, who darts into that space. You have to have Keane pushing over, which leaves Lacazette free in the box, but we see Gay stepping in to push the ball off him to ensure that Lacazette's unable to get the shot off. We saw in the second half Ramsey breaking into the channels and Gay tracking him and dispossessing him. Whenever Ozil tried to cut in, we had Gay pushing out and tracking him and nipping the ball away from him. He was superb on the day. He was breaking up play. He was ensuring that no Arsenal player could find that space in midfield. But when you look at it, Everton were pressing from the front. They were forcing Arsenal into mistakes. They were ensuring that Arsenal couldn't build from the back and forcing Tyrrell and Xhaka to pick up new positions. When Arsenal tried to play through Mustafi and Socrates, they were trying to play long diagonals out into the wider areas. But what happened there was that Kenny and Digne did a very good job of winning those aerial duels. They practically won all of them, and that was a big problem. So Arsenal couldn't really get the ball out there. They weren't finding any joy in behind. And when you look at it, nothing was really going their way. Ramsey couldn't get the ball between the lines. Lacazette wasn't offering a threat, and they couldn't create chances. Their best chances stemmed from when they got Lacazette involved, when they got Aubameyang involved. Well, the best chance of the first half for Arsenal really stemmed like this. They have Tyrrell stepping in. They have Xhaka moving out to the right. What happens here is that they have Ramsey dropping into that space. So Ramsey drops into that space, and he gets the ball from Mustafi. Mustafi plays it to him, and Ramsey instantly funnels it through Davies and Gay, and it falls to Lacazette, and Lacazette brings Zuma with him. So he brings Zuma with him. He plays it to Ozil. Digne's tight on Ozil. We see Bellerin make that run. He makes that run behind Richarlison. The cross is cleared by Keane, and it falls to Aubameyang. Monreal's charging into the box. Monreal fires a shot on goal, and he forces Pickford into a save. The second opportunity stems from a deep diagonal that ended up falling to Aubameyang, and both Arsenal defenders and both Everton defenders were back, but Monreal overlapped to push Kenny out, and Walcott didn't get close to Aubameyang, and Aubameyang's cross accidentally hit the crossbar. But besides that, Arsenal were struggling to create chances. They couldn't play out of the back. They couldn't break in between the lines to find their key players and get them going. And in the first half, it was basically all about Everton. Then we get to Everton, a side that many expect to do well this season, but are struggling on both ends of the field, not able to keep a clean sheet this season, and not getting their center forwards goals this campaign either. The front four were very good in this game in the first half, and we have to look at why. Calvert-Lewin's ability to break in behind into the channels, Sigurdsson's ability to find balls to the left and to the right of Tyrrell and Xhaka. He was key in finding the ball in pockets of spaces and playing his teammates forward. Richarlison running at Bellerin and running at defenders in general, and then Theo Walcott always looking to break him behind, and his sheer pace would cause Monreal problems. When we think about Arsenal, they were kind of shaped up well in the midfield, and that was one of the big things that we thought they would be able to dominate. You would have Ramsey on Gay, you'd have Jacques against Davies, and then you have Tyrrell looking to deal with Sigurdsson. However, their pressing wasn't very good. They looked to press from the front with Lacazette and Ramsey, and then have the wider players push out. Although Ozil did do a decent job on Digne, and Aubameyang wasn't really beat by Kenny, they were bypassed in midfield, and Everton were able to play out. But most of Everton's chances came in transition. There was some really nicely knit played, but Arsenal were falling asleep, not really marking their players, often dropping off into more of a 4-5-1 or two banks of four without the ball. But we look at the opening stages and we see how Everton were able to get him behind. Simple ball into Davies. Xhaka doesn't get close to him. What do we see is that Bellerin, obviously worried about Richarlison's pace, stays on, keeps Calvert-Lewin on side while Socrates tries to step up. We see Calvert-Lewin break him behind, but Cech comes out and he makes a quality save. We go on later in the first half, Walcott a bit deeper, clipping the ball out to Richarlison. Richarlison backs up into Bellerin. He's able to turn him, and he fires a shot on goal that Cech does push away. Then we get into more simple build-up play. What happens here is that Lacazette drops off. He often interchange roles, and we we saw the ball switched out to Digne. We see Richarlison there. The ball switched out to Digne, not really closed down. We see Richarlison break into space behind Bellerin. Tyrrell does track him, but what happens is that Richarlison's able to cut in on him and curl his effort wide, and that was a big chance for Richarlison again. And then we look at the other chances that do stem in the first half. A lot of them stem from the fact that Arsenal were being broken down by simple build-up play. We see Keane, Davies knocks the ball back to him. Ramsey chases him. He's able to get past him. And what happens here is that we see Xhaka, we see Tyrrell, we see Sigurdsson break into space in behind Tyrrell. And Xhaka steps, obviously. He steps to the left. The ball plays into Sigurdsson. So the ball goes into Sigurdsson. He's able to nutmeg Monreal. And then that's when we see Walcott break in between Tyrrell, and we see him break in between Socrates to get the pass into the half space. He breaks in on goal, but again, unable to beat Petr Cech. And that's another warning sign. Petr Cech was arguably Arsenal's the man of the match throughout, making key saves, and it didn't even stop there. One more opportunity. Bellerin's cross is cleared. What happens there is that we see Calvert-Lewin end up breaking out, and he's closed down by Aubameyang and Ramsey. However, he's able to play a reverse ball into Sigurdsson. Now, Sigurdsson gets the ball and loads of space. What happens here? Sigurdsson delivers the diagonal out to Walcott. Walcott ends up waiting for Richarlison on the left-hand side. Richarlison's able to break into that left-hand half space, get onto the ball, and he's able to fire a shot on goal that Cech pushes away. But when we look at it as a whole, Arsenal's pressing was bypassed, and it was just simple, not really closing down well, leaving gaps in midfield. And again, Everton's break in behind, Arsenal's high line, a bit slow. They were making mistakes. Again, we look at the pressing, and they weren't doing a good job of closing down space. Richarlison was causing a threat. Walcott was breaking behind. No one was picking up Sigurdsson. And at the moment, it looked like Everton were poised to get full 3 points going into the second half. But then Arsenal somehow were able to turn it around, and we'll get to that next. So in the second half, Arsenal were able to win the game in approximately 3 minutes. But building up to it, we saw in the first half, Everton caused them a lot of problems. How did Arsenal look to change that? Well, they looked to build out of the back again, and Everton's pressing really caused them problems, ignited by Calvert-Lewin. We saw in the opening stages, Calvert-Lewin, Mustafi getting the ball at the back, Calvert-Lewin looking to press him. We saw Ozil drop off a bit to get on the ball, but Gay pushed out to him as well. And there, you're looking to play the pass out, but he can't get it into Ozil, and he plays it out of play. And that is down to Gay really getting there and ensuring that he couldn't get the ball forward. We look at another opportunity. Again, we see the ball go out to Mustafi. We see Calvert-Lewin push forward, but we see Tyrrell drop off. He's looking to offer a threat. Now is the time for Richarlison to stay on Bellerin, but what does he do? He presses forward. So once he presses, Tyrrell is able to play it out to Bellerin, and that forces Digne to push forward. So now, with Digne looking to play the pass into a teammate, what happens? It's Gay again coming across and making a vital interception. Like I said, he was covering every blade of grass. He was intercepting balls. He was all over the pitch. And once again, he caused a threat there. So that's how that turned out. Then the final chance, we saw substitute Holding, who came on for Socrates, look to push forward. He pushed forward. Calvert-Lewin steps to him. Walcott steps as well. They dispossess him. Walcott skips past Monreal, but Walcott's cross is overhit. Arsenal tried to build out of the back on 3 separate occasions. They couldn't get anything going. We saw Sigurdsson break in behind against the high Arsenal defensive line in the left channel. His cross was cleared. We saw Ozil's corner kick played to Ramsey, unmarked to the edge of the box. Gay was able to apply some pressure, and he volleyed his effort at the keeper. Then we get to the goals. The goals kind of stem from nothing, and that's the biggest problem with Everton, and that's where they're going to be kicking themselves, because they weren't bad, and you could say that they were arguably the better side building up to this goal. And what does it stem from? We see Aubameyang and Lacazette switch sides, and again, even when you look at the goal itself, it comes from nothing. Lacazette moves to the left. He plays a poor pass into Ramsey. Davies clears it, but it falls to Tyrrell, who guides it back to Ramsey, who's able to turn on Davies. What happens here is that Kenny's unable to go out to Lacazette because he's marked with Monreal, who did push forward. So Ramsey is able to turn Davies, and we see Walcott again a bit deeper, but he's not there. And what happens that Ramsey slides the ball into Lacazette. We see Kenny come across, but he's able to wrap the ball around the defender to put it into the top corner. Superb finish, Henry-esque, but when we look at it as a whole, it's 1-0 for Arsenal against the run of play. A poor goal for Everton to concede because they didn't really deserve it, but that's how football goes sometimes. That's what Everton's lacking, a top finisher that could change the game in a second. Then we look to the second goal, and it's more brilliance from Lacazette, and it's again something we wouldn't get from Aubameyang, and it's something that we saw in the earlier stages for Arsenal's best chance in the first half. It's Bellerin launching a ball from right back into Lacazette, who drops off. Zuma does follow him, and what happens here is that Zuma actually does a good job, and when the pass is being played, we are already seeing Ozil on his bike looking to get behind Digne. Zuma does a great job, brushes off Lacazette, but what happens is that he clears the ball loosely back into Lacazette, a terrible mistake, and then the ball is played into Ozil breaking free, and then we have somewhat of a 3v1 with Aubameyang breaking in, Ramsey breaking in. Ozil, like typical Ozil, plays the cutback pass. Yes, Aubameyang was offside. He finishes well, and then Arsenal are up 2-0. After that, the game was pretty much over. We saw Czech make a few key saves on Keane, and then he made another one late in the second half towards injury time. But as a whole, Arsenal again, 3 minutes of brilliance where they were able to push forward, and Everton lost a bit of concentration, and that was a difference maker here. And once again, it stems down to the fact that for Everton, unable to keep a clean sheet, the center backs and the back line just don't look like they could do it, despite Pickford being a top Premier League goalkeeper, and once again not finishing their chances in the final third, and that went to harm them here again because they pressed well, they defended well, they broke in behind. Arsenal stuck to it. Their star players ended up rising to the occasion, and that's 5 wins on the spin for Unai Emery's side. Whereas for Everton, we don't know what direction Marco Silva's side is going to go into, and this was a big loss for them. But it goes to show that if they could play like this more often, then they'll probably win more games than many people will think they will now. But let me know what you guys think. Will Arsenal finish in the top 4 this season? Can they get better under Unai Emery? And what about Everton? Why aren't they scoring goals in the final third? Why are they conceding so many chances and not being able to keep clean sheets? Meet me in the comments below. Don't forget to click the thumbs up button. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and I upload videos every day. And that was your daily dose of the interviews.